Should I mute my microphone?
Yes, I think it's better. But, I wonder how many participants we have already. Hello, Rob.
Hi, how are you, Carm? You can see me. I was just wondering, I could see other people. You never really know. Hello from Dublin. I'm in Dublin at the minute.
All right.
We've just had a big conference this last 3 days on age-friendly universities.
Okay.
So we had a lot of people, mainly from America, actually.
Wow. Very good.
But it was a very successful conference, yeah. So we're going to make our universities all more friendly to older people.
Yes, I'm just saying Francesca because it's something new. She normally.
I'm normally not visible,
Hello.
but I have a camera for a few hours.
Well
I have to
done.
go back then.
Yes. Well done.
Good. And there's Francoise in the background too, looking on. Hi, Francoise. And Josephine is.
Just.
I can't see her, but I can see her room.
Yes, she's going to pick up somebody, to bring somebody into the meeting.
Yeah.
So maybe we give 2 more minutes and then we start?
Yeah.
Good.
And you've made a lot of progress with this document with all your principles. I was reading it all carefully this morning.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you've got a lot of interesting points there, you know, and it's good to see it all coming together.
Okay, we have Josephine there now.
Yes, hi, and Maggie is with me. Hi, Carmen.
Hello, Maggie. How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Fine, thank you. So, hello, Diana from Portugal.
It's Rob. Hi, Rob.
Hi, who's that?
Josephine.
Ah, Josephine, I see you now, right. And who's that with you? That's Maggie with you, yes?
Francis.
Yeah.
Hi, Francesca.
Hi, Josephine. Hi, Maggie.
Hi, Francesca. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good, thank you.
Nice to see you.
And you.
Very good.
So who else is to come? Have we a big group?
It's about 20 people.
My goodness.
Oh.
This is going to be fun. You manage this than me.
We all want to talk at the same time.
No, we'll all be mute. Nobody can speak.
Oh, perfect. I love your dogmatic approach.
We consult, but we don't want to hear what they think.
Okay.
No. It will be closed during the presentation only to keep a bit of order.
Very important. That is to sort ourselves out.
So, Francesca, do we know how many we are already?
We are 21, and I have 22 names in my list, so I think we should start.
Okay. So, Jose Pedro, if we are okay.
Yes, Carmen, please start. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So, hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us into this online consultation for the Higher Education for U2 project on the work package on policy recommendations. My name is Carmen Royo. In case you don't know me, I'm the Executive Director of UCAN, the European University Continuing Education Network. We are the contractors and the coordinators of this project. This is a forward-looking project from Erasmus+, started in January 2016 and will finish in December this year. But what is higher education for U2. So the full name or the full title of the project is Integrating Cultural Diversity in Higher Education. And the project intends to make teaching and learning in higher education more diverse, responsive, and competitive by integrating inclusive pedagogies into existing curricula. The very main objective is to mediate obstacles for learners from migrant and culturally diverse backgrounds and value their contribution to the intercultural dimension for all learners. How have we tackled the problems or the objectives of the project? This has been done through 4 different work packages. The first one was about desk research. We collected 37 good practices, existing good practices, and 77 pieces of literature connected to the topic. And we did a transversal analysis of it. With this information, with what came out of this analysis, we designed a survey in Work Package 2, and it was sent to students with this kind of migrant background. We collected 232 replies, and the information that we collected in these surveys that we got from the students helped us a lot to picture what were the main problems and the points that the students thought could be improved. And that helped us to redesign or rethink existing curricula. So 21 different curricula were touched and improved and tested to see what the students thought about it. After that, with feedback from participants in the courses that were modified, we designed a guideline for higher education staff, both academic and non-academic, to work better and more inclusively with students from migrant backgrounds. And the next step was the design of a course for higher education staff. We've drafted, tested it, corrected, and now we have a course that has 2 different levels. It could be a longer course for about 15 hours, I think. And there is also a choice of a shorter course because we realize that not all the institutions have the same availability or possibilities. So there is also the possibility to run a short course of about 4 hours. This course is finished now. The generic course is finished, and it will be very soon available online. And the next work package was the one we are discussing today. More or less started in June 2017. We collected a number of pieces of existing policy, to be concrete, 56 documents or policies, and an analysis took place. And out of this analysis and the thinking, it's come up the policy recommendation draft paper that you have received. So I think that now I don't have to say anything else. The information general information about the project is there. And I think it's a moment for me to pass the word to Françoise de Veron. She is the team leader of our partner, the Universiteit Catholique de Leuven in Belgium, and they have lead the work package 4 on policy recommendations, and I leave her to you now. Thank you.
Hello to everybody. And I would like also mention that Amandine Bernal Gonzalez and Miguel Soto Lopez, we both are registered now for this webinar, have worked with me on this work package. Very shortly, what we try to do is finally we adapt, and it was probably the characteristic of the whole project, we adapt pragmatic and at the same time holistic approach, meaning that we would like to make a survey and an analysis of all the practice collected. So that's this part of the project, so it means the current interesting practice or the innovative one or the new tested one. And we collect also the policies, but we would like to make this survey with a scientific course, with a scientific rigor, but also to use some scientific or conceptual model in order to analyze it, just to mention it very quickly. What we did in this work package, what we did regarding the policies dimension, we tried to have a complete inventory of existing policies within.
Françoise, sorry to interrupt, but I'm being told that they cannot hear you very well. Can you maybe put the micro a bit louder?
Is it okay now? Is it better?
Yes, I think it's better. Okay. They say no.
And no, is it better?
I think it's the same, Françoise. It doesn't change.
It doesn't change. On my computer, it's totally different, but sorry, I don't know what I can do. Jose, could you do something?
Yes, I don't know, but do you have the Amandine's computer at your side?
Yes, but then I'm no more able to manage the slide.
Yes, I don't know what's happening with your sound. I don't have a way to put it louder to the participants. And I don't understand as well the technical problem because we hear you very well.
Yeah, I can hear you quite well. You know, it's not so difficult here where I am, but it may be in other places more difficult.
For me, it's fine too, Françoise. So I don't know.
I go ahead. Is it okay? No or not?
Get closer to the computer. Maybe it's better.
Yeah.
Okay. So we collect the existing policies within the 7 countries of the partners. And of course, we also collect at European level. And we collect also the policies within the institutions, within our own, within the partners' institutions. And what kind of policies? All the policies dealing with integration of cultural diversity within university. So it means we were interested to collect the policies able to promote or to support integration practices of learners or teachers, maybe with a diverse cultural background, I mean ethnic minorities, migrants, or any underrepresented group at cultural level. That's one thing. Policies who encourage or who stimulate some pedagogical innovation within existing program or promoting the creation of new innovative curricula dealing with integration. And finally, we also collect the policies which promote or stimulate the professional development of the university staff. By university staff, we mean the teachers, but also the scientists, the researchers, and the administrative staff. Then we organize the policies we divide it in 4 different types of resource. Of course, they don't have the same status. So one part of the policies collected are decrees or laws, maybe at national or regional level. We could also have administrative rules. It's a second type. The third one is some statements regarding the vision or the mission of universities. And the last one are more guidelines or recommendation at any level. So we also identify 3 different levels for those policies. So it might be at the European level. So it's some guidelines or recommendation coming from European Union, for instance. A second level is the national or the regional one. So, and there we could have law, decrees, or administrative rules, or maybe only recommendation. And finally, the third level is the institution, the higher education institution themselves, so the university level. So we collect them, we organize them, and then what we made a transversal analysis of all these collected policies. And what we look at, it's mainly the question is, do the current policies help or assist the different actors within the university to facilitate or to support the integration of cultural diversity into curricula? Do these policies foster the cultural inclusion or inclusivity at institutional level? Do the current policies help us to share and disseminate relevant and innovative practice? So mainly how do the policies, the collected policy, nurture the integration culture, how it's possible. And the second question was mainly how could those policies be improved? And finally, what we look also at, could the implementation of these policies be improved? Those are mainly the 3 aspects we look during this analysis. At the end of this analysis, what we made, in fact, we observed and we noticed that we could suggest some recommendations. So we could invite different actors to improve the wording or to improve the policies or to improve the implementation of these policies. And what we do, so we give some number, but the number for the moment don't have any meaning or specific meaning. It's just to be able to recognize from one recommendation to another one. And we identify to whom the recommendation could be addressed. Is it at European level? Is it at the national or the regional level? Is it a recommendation for universities, so for our own institution? Or is it a recommendation for the university staff, meaning mainly professor, researcher, or administrative staff? And so the recommendation we identified 10 recommendations, and I will go through those 10. So the first one is what we name increasing humanity value. So any comment on the wording are welcome, no problem about that. But the first one is mainly that we observe that it's important to give more emphasis on the richness of diversity, and not only in the educational policies, but also within all organizations, that the diversity, the fact that we have people coming with other culture, coming from other ethnic minorities, it's really a richness and not something that we have to deal with. But it's so that's why, and we decide that this recommendation is general one. It's more maybe an idealist one, but it could be addressed to all at all the levels. The second recommendation is what we name university social responsibility. So for us, it's very important that universities are aware of their role in the development of an intercultural society. They are training a lot of people, and they are to be aware about their responsibility in this field. So to promoting a more diverse society and promoting an inclusive education. So this responsibility, so this recommendation is addressed, of course, at the European and national level, as they could support the university, but the main actor to whom this recommendation is addressed is the university themselves. The third recommendation is probably not surprising for people for member of UCAN, is we have to improve the access, of course, but also the success of the people coming with a diverse cultural background, the success within higher education. So of course, we have to promote the recognition of previous qualification, and we have to improve the prior learning, and maybe also the intercultural skills. We have to promote and recognize them, but we have also to not to use in the bad way, but we have also to let the students the possibility to use these intercultural skills during their path at university. So this recommendation is mainly addressed to university themselves. The fourth one is regarding the sustainability of the solutions, or the sustainability of the good practices, or sustainability of innovative curricula we decide to launch. We are convinced, the people of the project are convinced, that it's not only one migrant crisis or one refugee crisis, that the fluidity and the change in the world is such a way that it's important to find durable and sustainable solutions. So it's the flexibility of the people, the mobility of the people will continue in the future, and so it's important to find sustainable solution. And this recommendation is addressed to, of course, the policymakers, the European policymakers, the national policymakers, but also the universities themselves. The next recommendation is mainly addressed to the university and the people of the project. The one conclusion of the project is to invite the universities themselves to define a specific strategy in order to take into account the specific needs of the learners, of these learners with a diverse cultural background, and also to adopt a strategy to manage this change, so this innovation within the university, and to follow up and maybe to develop a quality assurance about this change. The other recommendation are, and this one we need, by we, I mean the higher education institutions, so the universities need required resources. For the moment, what we observe, it's we are all willing people, we are ready to do something, but what we need, in fact, within the university is dedicated people in order to take care of these learners. And we need also to develop relevant competencies amongst our universities, and we have to extend services. So the university has to be aware that it's not something that we can decide and then not deciding to give some specific resource for this strategy and for these objectives. The seventh recommendation, or recommendation number 7, is we have to develop specific pedagogical approach. And maybe this recommendation is addressed to the teachers, but not only to the teachers, not only to the professors, but also to the researchers and to the administrative staff, certainly. The project is totally convinced that integration, it's a two-way mutual dynamic adaptation process. So it's not a question of one culture integrated to another one. It's more complex, and we have developed it in length in the document, in the report. So it means in order to develop this capacity to learn from each other and to have not a hosting culture and then a new culture coming and invited by this country. So we have to learn from each other, and so it's important to adapt the pedagogical approach in order to integrate this element. And it's also what we learned from the project, and we would like to disseminate this result. It's very important to have a good understanding of its own culture before welcoming, or before, in order to be ready to start with this mutual adaptation process. So it's very important to know and to understand its own culture before. The 8th recommendation is mainly for the policymakers at European national levels, but also at university, because they have to allow a dedication, to dedicate some money to those people, to the people who are dealing with this question, is we have to improve, of course, the funding systems. What we observed during our policies collection is that in some countries, or in some cases, there are excellent and relevant policies in place, but there is no implementation due to lack of people or due to lack of money. So it's important to have an adequate funding systems. The next recommendation is about collaboration. Of course, what we observed during our project is that some institutions have collaboration on this issue with other universities, and maybe the Bologna process and the Bologna follow-up group could help us to do that. But there are also collaboration with some other associations dedicated to alphabetization, for instance, or NGO, or also with other countries. By other countries, we need countries where the people coming at our university are coming from. And mainly this collaboration we put at the staff level, but maybe we have to extend it to the university level too. And the last recommendation is about monitoring. What we observe, what we conclude, and what we notice is that it's very important to get some success stories and to tell the success story, to explain. At the same time, what we identified that as the universities are developing their own strategy regarding integration, cultural integration, diverse cultural integration, it's better to have contextual indicators taking into account the specific objective of the university or of the country, and that we could not recommend some universal standard indicators as such. It's better to give some the autonomy, or to let the university to let this autonomy. So that's mainly very quickly the recommendation we made during this project. But no, I think the floor is yours. So if you have any questions, comments, or objections, perhaps, about those recommendation, we are very pleased to listen to.
Yes, well, I'm trying to collect all the questions from the chat. There are quite a few points that have been raised. So I'm not sure how we want to proceed, Françoise. It's all questions about policies, so I don't know whether we want to take them one by one. There are a few questions specifically referring to a recommendation. So I think maybe the best is to proceed one by one, and maybe trying to give a short reply because there are a few.
Okay.
Or do you prefer to take more than one at the same time, just let me know.
If you have question regarding the same
well,
no, it's to make some group of questions.
Yeah, so I'll see what I can do, because they are about different recommendations. But for example, we have a first question, and I think this is Rob, concerning the exact meaning of human engagement. Sorry, of the humanity value, the exact meaning of humanity value. So are we meaning by this human engagement and understanding? Can we clarify a little bit more the exact meaning of this?
So it's about mainly recommendation, the first recommendation.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Okay, then we have another question referring to recommendation number 4 about access.
Yeah.
So the question is whether the broader meaning of access was considered also in the sense of increasing progression from school and vocational education to higher education, and whether the concept of success was considered also in the sense of supporting the retention of students once they enter higher education. There is another question related to recommendation number 4, posed by the Mainz University, and is about whether, how we can achieve a shift from a problem-oriented access to diversity to a more appreciating access. I don't know whether this is clear or whether the University of Mainz colleagues want to clarify this question.
Okay, maybe I could answer the first question, and then we will see.
Yeah.
So regarding the first recommendation, in fact, here in Louvain, so we have many difficulties to get the right wording. What we observe is the fact that it's important that within our policies at any level, European, national, one thing is to promote the integration of people with different backgrounds, but mainly the discourse of those people, the talk of those people are labor market oriented. And they are okay for economical reason, we have to include it, or for economical and so on and so on. What we would like to highlight is the fact that it's okay, it might be a good reason, labor market is a good reason, but it's also a question of the fact that all of us are human beings on this planet, and that we are all the same. So for us, it was important to highlight the fact that it's not only for economical reason or for competitiveness reason that's important to have an inclusive education. So we would like to highlight this more this social social, or the fact that the people with another culture could enrich our society itself and could enrich could enrich our own culture, our own education system, and could afford a lot of different things. So, but any suggestion about the wording are welcome. But
okay. Yeah, concerning the wording, I think there is a bit of a discussion about the use of the word acculturation. I don't know whether, Françoise, you want to say anything about that. Well, there is a comment saying, for example, that it looks like a dated concept that does not capture the essence of cultural inclusion. yeah, it's a long comment, so I'm trying to summarize it. But I think there is an issue with the use of this word, and I know it has been raised before, so maybe it is worth to say something about it.
Yeah, the acculturation, we use this word as the scientific word, not as the word used by policymakers. That's important. So there is a big debate in the literature when you look at it. So acculturation for us is mainly a process described, for instance, by Berry, and in which this process, we have 4 different modes for this adaptation. I would prefer this, and that's why I use it in the slide. I would prefer the word two-way adaptation process. And so within Asbury and then Boris, and mainly we have used the Boris model. And within this acculturation process, we are 4 types of modes, 4 modes, sorry, and one of them is integration. And in this integration, we have more this dual meaning of adaptation. So this is a two-way process. But so in the complete report, we made the point and we discussed it long. And I agree that in the mind of some, and it's a critic about the first model of Berry, the fact that acculturation has been understood as assimilation. And that's, of course, it's not true, because in its initial model, but I would prefer the Boris model, but which is refined. And we have to be careful about the common use of acculturation process and the scientific use of acculturation process.
Thanks, Françoise. I would go now to recommendation number 5. We have a comment here by Ana Rita Marallo. I hope I pronounced it well. Well, Ana Rita says that recommendation number 5 about higher education institution strategic planning is very important. But she suggests whether, in order to avoid what happened with the European strategy documents mentioned in the section main observation and analysis mentioned in the document,
yeah.
Should we introduce examples of indicators that would allow the follow-up of policies implementation? So the use of indicators might help.
Okay, it's regarding the
recommendation number 5. Yeah, higher education institutions planning, strategy planning.
About a strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, you can work many years on this topic about strategy, but not specifically in this field. But okay, thank you for the comment.
There are a few comments on. Well, there are a few general questions as well. And one question is why have we differentiated between higher education institutions and staff?
Sorry, I missed the question.
So the question is, why have you differentiated between recommendation addressed to higher education institutions and recommendation addressed to university staff? Yeah, why this specific?
Why so specific? Because
yeah,
for us there is a difference for I would say the dean, the rectorate, the president of university. So it's mainly the institution, the university as institution, and recommendation for the teachers, for the professor, for the coach, for the people who are working with the students, with the learners. So that's why we made the differentiation. But maybe some recommendation addressed to the university could be also addressed to this university staff and vice versa. Maybe if you have any suggestion about this. You're welcome.
Okay. There's a comment by Jose Pedro. It's a general comment to the recommendations. To integrate the management of diversity in higher education institutions, the issue must be strongly present in the institution strategies. To achieve a more effective implementation, further emphasis should be put on recommendation numbers 5, 6, 7, 8. And I think this is a comment by Antonio Magalhães of the University of Porto. There are a few general questions. So one question is asking why, whether you have taken into account other policies not directly connected to higher education, and whether if you consider non-higher education policies as inspiration to develop higher education criteria.
Oh yes, what we observe in our collect when we made this survey is that there are some global, more general policies in the country, and but that could apply to higher education too. So we have looked at those policies too, but each partner, in fact, and I would like to thank all the partners of the project because they are doing that, they have looked at more than, finally we collected only 5 to 8 policies per country, but the analysis was done before in each country by the partner, looking at which policy did influence or did an impact, had an impact on the development of this integration process. And so many of them are broader than the educational sector.
Okay. I can see here a comment on recommendation number 6, so about resources. Rob suggests that maybe some resources might come from volunteering, from community representatives, from staff, including retired staff, bringing the advantage that this does not cost so much and builds on people's willingness to support developments. So this is a comment on recommendation number 6.
Okay, I agree with it, but at the same time, it's also important that the universities are really involved in the process, and that's not, I would say in French, it's not a sparadrap that you put somewhere in order. And I'm a little bit afraid if we use only retired people or volunteer and so on, it's not really a change. It's not really a change that you would like to organize, to support within your organization. I agree with you that we can work with this, but I'm not sure I will recommend it. That's slightly different, but okay, we could integrate the ideas like that. Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Françoise. Then I can read a comment on page 9 of the policy document, which I think is the recommendation number 1. And, well, I will read the comment because it's a bit long. So basically, and this is a comment by Cosmin Nada, and she's referring to the use of the expression diversity friendliness. And so she's saying that although I'm reading it out, although I found the use of this term quite innovative, it may be contradictory with the argument that you seek to defend in this document. Similar to multicultural societies, diversity is a fact, an unavoidable reality in universities from the 21st century. Every university is multicultural and diverse. So the issue is not rather if you are diversity friendly or not, but to which extent are you, as an institution, developing strategies to manage that diversity. I don't know if you want to add anything on that, Françoise.
Not immediately. I have to think about it.
Okay.
Some of my colleagues have also ideas about it.
Okay.
No, okay. Thank you for the comment, but I will...
And there's another comment on always on page 9, and it's by Cosmin again, about the sentence where you say that higher education institutions have the possibility to distinguish themselves from others. So the question is, it is because they will be different from the others that universities should do this, or because they need to develop a climate of cultural diversity and social inclusion in order to become better institutions in terms of internationalization and social responsibility?
What we observe, in fact, during the project is that for some countries, the fact that internationalization is a very important driver for universities. This fact has an impact on the development of integration of diverse cultures. So I would say that internationalization, of course, which is a very tough, I would say, indicators in, for instance, in different universities' rankings. It's, if we could like or not dislike that kind of indicators, but this indicator has certainly an impact on the development of more inclusive education, certainly, and that we notice in certain countries, partner countries, we notice that mainly the policies identified, collected and identified for this project, the policies mention and use mainly the word internationalization and not necessarily diversity, inclusion and so on, but internationalization. So I agree that there is certainly a connection between those two concepts. I hope I well understood the question.
Okay, thanks, Françoise. And I have to apologize with Cosmin because, well, apparently is a male name, and I was using the she. I'm sorry, I was not familiar with his name. Yes, I'm just checking for the last comments and question. There is a comment about recommendation about access and success by I think it's Miguel Soto.
Yeah, Miguel is one
okay.
of the colleagues.
Okay.
Thank you, Miguel.
Okay, it was replying to all. Yes, it's a bit difficult because there have been a lot of comments and replies to comments. So I'm sorry if I am missing something. Please let me know. I can see that here at the end, there have been some comments about literature on graduate attributes. So just let me find the first one. I think I cannot find the first question.
But I'm thinking that if anybody feels that his or her question is not been answered, maybe they could copy and paste it or write it again.
Yeah, that's also an idea. Or, I mean, maybe we have some space for somebody to say something. I mean, we don't have much time left, but if there is a comment which is a bit difficult to write, because there are some quite long comments here. Yeah, there was an interesting comment by Mainz University, Maria, concerning recommendation number 7, which I think is very appropriate. So she's saying that it would be good to emphasize that we need role models within the staff to achieve a diversity-oriented cultures, and that teachers from different cultural backgrounds are very important, of course.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maria. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, if you have anything, any other question or any comments, please copy it again or write it at in the chat so that we can take it.
Okay.
And in the meantime, Françoise, there was another general question that I was leaving for later. So the question is, don't you think that education policies should be implemented from early ages, so from school? It is fundamental that children see diversity as a natural and normal reality.
Yes, I certainly, as a human being, I certainly agree on it. But we don't have any. I would say we don't have any. I would say we don't have any evidence in this. So what we are doing, we are collecting policies related to higher education institutions. We have done it in 7 countries, European countries. So that's the limitation of our studies. We could not say, I agree, of course, but it's difficult to argue on it as we don't have any evidence and any information or any document on this. But certainly, I agree with it.
Okay, thanks.
I would like to thank everybody for all the comments and the questions, because it's very helpful and fruitful for us in order to improve the recommendation, and we will integrate those comments and maybe the question too, and most probably we will discuss it again with our partners in order to finalize them. Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, Françoise. And I think if we don't have any other questions or comments, I would like to give the floor to Katarina for the conclusions.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, I would like to say hello to everybody. My name is Katarina. I'm from the University of Vienna, from Austria, and my very short responsibility here is to summarize some of your comments. I would like to thank you for this collaborative learning experience that we've just gone through the last hour, because I think that your comments are very helpful. There were a couple of comments on the wording and the terminology of the policy recommendations, and we will be very careful when we adapt the document to take care of the key terms again, and to go back and discuss them and think about them again. There were some comments about diversity friendliness, acculturation, cultural orientation, and so on. So we will definitely go back to do this. But I would also like to stress that this project is, if you imagine the triangle, science, practice, and policy, that this project has the aim to bridge these 3 areas. So we would like to bring policy science and practice together in an active way, and this is what we've been trying to do. And of course, language is always an issue, because we know that the language of practitioners and policymakers is sometimes different. So this is definitely a challenge that we have in the document. And thank you for the comments on the terminology. Also, there were some comments about the, I would say, the gap between policies and implementation of policies and sustainable policies. So I think that, well, we are aware that these different types of policies that we've been analyzing, laws, decrees, guidelines, mission statements, it is difficult to put them into practice, and that is why we've been trying to give an example for each recommendation to bridge these two aspects, policy and implementation. And yes, we are definitely aware that this is very hard. And yes, there were also some comments about the actual people that we're dealing with, the teachers and the students, of course. And as Françoise told you in the presentation in the beginning, we worked with teachers in the last months of the project, and we did specific staff training and skills development courses with our teachers. And so I agree with one of the last comments from, I think it was Mainz, that the teachers are the role models, and they have a key role in active diversity management and bringing policies into action. So we are aware that the teachers have a key role here. But also on a student level, we would like to emphasize that we would want students at each university in Europe to make a cultural experience when they study that is positive and that impacts their personal development. So thank you very much for all your comments, and the next steps are that we would go through the policy recommendations again and make them more concrete, depending on your comments and the things that we discussed right now. And also there will be a face-to-face possibility to talk about this, and I think that Carme will tell you more about this yes, actually right now there will be a policy consultation that she will announce. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Katrina, and thank you, Françoise, and thank you everybody for the contribution that you've made with your questions and comments. And very, very short, very briefly, I will explain what is the next steps that we will take. As Katrina was explaining, we take with us all the comments and all the questions that you have made, and we'll try to integrate it, or improve our current document, and we'll share that improved document in our next consultation, which will be a face-to-face consultation. It will be in Brussels on Thursday, 26th of April. And basically it's a consultation open to policymakers and stakeholders, basically. So we hope to have the opportunity to discuss the document deeper and get more feeling about what policymakers think about it. After that, we'll rearrange the document and we'll pass it on to the two external experts that we have engaged in the project. One of them is actually participating in this consultation right now, is Rob Mark, and the other expert is Kevin Orr from the UK. And with their feedback, we'll finalize the policy paper and recommendation. We hope to be finished by October 2018. And the final version will be available and presented officially on the final project event that will be in Barcelona on Thursday, 15th of November. I invite you to put this date in your agenda and to consider maybe joining us on that day, because there will be all the final results of the project will be presented, and there will be some, hopefully there will be some nice surprises as well for the people that participate. So we'll very soon announce this final event. And that was all the things I wanted to explain. That brings us to the very end of the consultation of today. Thank you very much for your attention, for your engagement, and please don't forget that we have an email that you can always write to ask for more questions or to send more comments. And we have our website, which we keep updating with the outputs of the project, so don't hesitate to visit and download the materials that we've finished. So I think that's it. Thank you very much. Okay. I think that we can consider the event closed.
Okay, thank you very much, Carmen.
Bye, bye, bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow. Was it a walk?